Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode. This is episode 2 of the Veteran Wealth Podcast. Like I told you guys, one day I was sitting down and I was reading messages from a bunch of veterans, and they were talking about they wish they had one place where they could get massive and great information from amazing, successful entrepreneurs in the world. And we decided to put this podcast together, and I am 3 months booked out already with guests that can't wait to pour themselves into you guys that are paying attention to the show, into you guys and girls that are out there, you military vets that want to succeed at a very high level. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, I'm David Kurz. I'm a former United States Marine Corps sergeant. Spent 9 years in the Marine Corps, and now I am running up to 4 businesses right now here in Miami, Florida. And with recent expansions into Virginia, just outside Quantico Marine Corps base. And so having a lot of fun doing this because Michael, who's our guest today, and I were talking about how unprepared most veterans are coming out into the world and how much more they can do just based on the values that they have learned in the whatever, how many years, 3, 4, 10, 20 years they were in the military. Michael, how you doing? Thank you for being a guest on the show.
Great. Thank you, David. Is where I'm supposed to about on eating and the Marine Corps, or is that's for later in the broadcast?
What's that?
I said, is this where I'm supposed to ask you about eating crayon marine, or is that's for later?
That's later.
Okay.
That's later. That's off camera, man. Come on.
I'm really glad to hear, and I'm really glad to be involved in reaching out and helping, mentoring veterans, finding their worth in the environment of corporate America as well as just the general population.
Michael, tell me about your military career.
I did it many years ago. I graduated from the Citadel. I took a commission in the Army, was a cavalry officer stationed with the 7th Cavalry up in South Korea, up just off the DMZ in Korea. And then my second duty station was the 11th Armored Cav over on about 132-kilometer stretch of the East-West German border.
Wow.
Kind of hit the moment of, hey, do I want to make this a career, or do I want to go out into the real world? After military high school and military college and 5 years in the Army, I decided I needed to figure out something besides military. And so I made the separate, and that late 1989.
And
after
what was that like for you? Like, what was it like separating from the military?
Really interesting at that point, and I'm unfamiliar with the goings on today, but at that point there were these guys that were running around Europe on seminars that were headhunters, and they were looking for junior officers who were interested to get out, and could they market them to America? And I was fortunate to get with a gentleman, Lou Benjamin. I don't know where he is today, but he helped me take what is the officer of a cavalry troop do? What is the training officer? What is the support platoon leader? All those jobs that I did. How do you translate that into, hey, I managed a budget for a $40 million cavalry troop and an budget of $0.5 million. I was the budget officer. I was the supply officer. So we could articulate it into real world process and put it on a piece of paper that we could put in front of a civilian. Most of the civilians we interviewed with, obviously they had some familiarity with the military, so they could have conversation. But in 1989, again, getting out the last half of 1989, I took a job in New York City, and figuring, hey, go to the belly of the beast and learn the lessons.
Right.
It was a different world. People say to me, "You're not going to make it unless you're too nice, or you're too, you're too reliable. You can't deliver on time, because then everybody's going to expect you to deliver on time." So, yeah, but if that's, we talked about it before the show. I always would tell people I hired, or especially vets, I would say, I always learned my first duty station. The commander took me in and welcomed me and said, "Mike, you need a watch, because you're going to have events that you got to make. But here, we work to a standard and not to a time. So at 4:30, you're not in the O Club having a beer. You're completing the mission. And, I always took that with me, both in the military and out of the military, that the job was, the mission was priority. And I think that's so important for veterans to recognize in themselves and be able to articulate in their own words. This is how we work. I'm willing to put in the extra half hour to get the job done right the first time.
Right. I think that boils into everything that one of the things that entrepreneurs don't know that is the most important piece of their business is prospecting, right? Because if you've got a business, you need somebody to buy into the business. And, I coach nationally and I talk to people all the time and they say, well, I spend 2 hours a day prospecting. And I say, okay, fantastic. What is your goal in those 2 hours, right? Well, I'd like to book 2 appointments. I'd like to book 2 appointments. Okay, that's cool. And what happens if you don't book any appointments? Well, then, that's it for my 2 hours. And I think to myself, the mission should be to book 2 appointments, not to be on the phone for 2 hours, right?
And
right.
So, and at the end of the day, the mission is shift. The mission is, and beyond that, and as an entrepreneur and owning my own, we do wealth management, wealth coaching, business coaching. Our focus in what we do now is coach business owners to build wealth in their business and prepare for that. To have something. 85% of business owners, when they get to the point of, hey, I'm done, can't sell their business because what they've created is a job.
Right. I'm so glad you said that. Like you got out of the Army as a junior officer. You were 03, right? And you got out of the Army and you became what we call an intrapreneur, right? So where you were a hard charging, definitely businessman, but in the corporate world, you were helping someone else build their business. Right. And so you were an entrepreneur. And I want our listeners to know and understand that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Michael spent 25 years building that up and learning and educating himself and putting value forward to David, thousands of people.
You just said it. Learn every day. You have got to look at every day from a work standpoint, a career standpoint, a personal standpoint, a relationship standpoint. Every day is learning. The education process does not stop. I'm 58 years old and I learn something every day. I push myself to continue to learn and understand so that I can serve my clients and my business to the best of its ability. Uniquely, what are they in the Army? C1 duty. Right. Those concepts have never left. Right. If I see something, someone's doing a strategy, a technique, I want to learn about it. I watch it, I learn it, I do it and serve my clients. But I also took that 25-year period. I didn't just punch a clock and go in and do something and leave. I was observing and watching. Became more confident in my understanding of the business cycle and of marketing strategies. And that's what I used it for. Came time to, hey, call my own shots. I had a saying. I entered into this business through the insurance world. I worked for a major insurance company and I was there a year and a half. And I was like, yeah, I'm not working for these knuckleheads anymore. They don't understand values and integrity. And I went independent and took a young man with me who's 20 years my junior, not a veteran, but an entrepreneur. And I said to him, you got to be willing to have the heart to say, I'd much rather be homeless on the street, living under the bridge, than to do this wrong. Right? Yeah. We do it the right way. We're not going to cut corners. Yeah. We're not going to screw clients. We're going to do it the right way and be committed to it.
Right.
I don't care how you articulate it. You can do it for the marketing. However, we're not going to screw anybody. We're going to do it right. We're going to represent ourselves. And because there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way. And I think maybe corporate America, there's such a push for quarterly earnings, monthly results, that people have gotten desensitized doing things the right way and having the character and integrity. And that's the thing, in the military, I always loved that I could depend on my brothers to the left and my sister to the left and the right. I knew that fellowship. And it wasn't there when I got out in the military. I worked in New York City and I had Ivy grads and they were knuckleheads, brilliant, but knuckleheads.
Right.
And so I think that's where veterans need to understand they are going to be different. Don't get frustrated with it. Use it to your advantage, right? Use that to your advantage. The
100%. So let me ask you this,
recognize-
Michael. We know why you left the military, right? You said, you went to like military high school, military college, and then you were in the Army for 5 years, and you decided you wanted to try something different. You entered the corporate world, and you were in the corporate world for 25 years. So what happened? What bulb went off that said, well, I now want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a business owner, CEO. I want to be the founder of a company. What made that light turn on?
So 15 years ago, first wife, who was very healthy, died in an accident. We had 2 small children. I will tell you, the military training I was there. She passed away in my arms. I was there through the whole process, and it just kicks in. The EMTs, the officers afterwards, like, dude, what did you call on to, and as you said, I'm used to being in the Army, and this is what we trained for, and it just kicked back in after so many years. And then it was like, okay, what do I want to do? And we had planned for children. We had a family plan. We'd had the legal documents, the wills, the trust. We had insurance. We had all that side. And I'm sitting across from these attorneys and CPAs afterwards, and they're like, Mike, at 42 and my wife at 36, you're so prepared. No one's this prepared. And it really just fell on my heart. Hey, how do I communicate with people and help people be prepared? I didn't want to work in the direct to consumer realm, although we will work with consumers and individually. I found business owners, going back on that 25 years of business experience, business owners spend so much time focused on, I want to build my business, but we haven't really sat back and said, what am I building? How is it protected? Right. How is it, 80% of my wealth is my business, but what happens if I can't get out of bed tomorrow?
Right.
We went and learned about the basic building blocks of the products. And then we said, that's when my partner and I said, okay, we're going to do it differently. We're going to change the mode. We are going to focus in these areas, and this is how we're going to practice our discipline and how we work for people. We do a lot of work where there isn't an immediate revenue stream. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. It solves it for the client. It gets them over the edge, right? Guess what? We get the referrals. We get the, when you have that ability, and it's not just about, how much is this relationship worth? And I think a lot of corporate America is, if it's not paying a dividend today, focus on something that does. And I think, in the military, I always learned, you need the guy in the mechanic shop, maybe not right now, and you need to have those relationships. You need, there's nobody in the continuum of the military that's not important. And as a junior officer, especially when I was an executive officer of a cavalry troop, man, I had to know people. I had to have those in my back pocket. I had to have the relationships with my NCOs to understand that sometimes they could get it done. Sometimes they'd say, hey, sir, you need to go get that done. You need to go get person. And so it was just building that collaborative focus is what we wanted to bring our practice. We don't sell anybody anything. We don't. Right. We do fulfillment. We do fulfillment of strategies using different products. We don't sell them anything. And that's our ability to operate with the focus being the standard. Help the client, serve the client, help the client, get them what's for them. And I think that is somehow I do a lot with the Honda Classic and oversee the military appreciation program. And we have a great facility. Veterans are allowed in free every day. You can bring a guest for 20 free food, a couple of free beverages, great 10,000 square foot VIP pavilion. And it's just veterans loving on veterans. That's all it is. Just veterans loving on veterans. We get 25,000 every year. It's amazing. It continues to grow. And I bring in the junior ROTC cadets from the local high school, and I stand them there at the edge of it, and I point at it, and I say, look at this. What do you see here? What color do you see? What shape and size. I mean, you see young and old. We have guys who just come home from Iraq and Afghanistan, and I have World War II POWs, and I get those guys together, and you know what? They're saying the same thing, just using a different language.
Right.
And I'll say to those junior OTC kids, you see, there's no differences here. The fellowship and the brotherhood of veterans is there's no black, white, yellow, green, male, female. There's veteran. And we honor and celebrate it and support. And that's what you are interested in pursuing. And you're going to have periods of time where life sucks. That's where you learn the most. That's where you develop those relationships. That's where you learn to trust others.
So would you say the number one piece of advice that you would give to a veteran trying to become an entrepreneur, or maybe an intrapreneur for that matter, would you say like one of the number one things is relationship building?
Absolutely. And you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be, because not everybody understands those values. But as you reach out with those to others and you build those trust relationships, what you'll find is most of the civilians are desperate deep down to have that sort of relationship. They just have never been in the shit to have it. You know, what do they say? It's built in the suck. You know, I mean, guys don't make true friendships unless they're in the suck together. And that was Nabir at the Citadel. That was Korea. That was, you know, they have no concept of that. And when you're able to lead with that and develop that relationship and that trust and show it, some people are going to take advantage of it. Hey, fool me once, you know, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But you're going to find a large preponderance of civilians that be so blown away by that because they have nothing to gauge that on. They don't have that experience.
That
they're going to be grateful.
That level of service, they have no idea where that comes from. It just doesn't click.
You know,
when they see it for themselves for the first time, it's so huge.
David, if I call David, I can trust that David is going to deliver for me, for what I need and want. They don't know how or why. They'll soon learn, you know, but they don't have a whole lot of people in their circles that they truly can trust.
Right.
Like, selfless service that you go through in the military, the bonding, the relationships, those sorts of things is really what I tell most veterans when they're looking for business. You know, that, you know, you can't hold that, right? You can't hold that. You can't really define that, but you really need to say, hey, you know, this is who I am. And I think employers are they have been recognizing more and more. 89, it was just metrics, right? But you know, you can teach a monkey pretty much anything. The question is the monkey going to want to do it and going to be willing to do it to the standards that you need or want? And that's where I think the veterans bring such a diverse, strong array of abilities. We like to work in teams. We want to work in teams.
What would you say to a veteran right now that's doubting him or herself about building something for themselves?
You've been through worse. You've been through harder. You've been through, I mean, just stop. I mean, I can't look, I've been through some challenging times. I've never been shot at. I can't imagine that. I tell veterans that all the time. Hey, I'm a veteran, but I didn't get shot at. You know, I mean, I can't imagine. I've been shot and I survived and I thrived. What's a letter from the IRS going to do to me? I mean, you really having that mindset. I've been through bigger, challenging things, and keeping in touch. Do one thing. I have a text group, about 10 guys. They're all guys I served with in the Armored Cavalry Regiment. And they're all old farts, right? Sure. But we all keep in touch a couple of times a week. And we support, encourage each other, you know, in the challenges that we face, personal and professional. And so don't lose sight. I mean, you're never, hey, 30 years from now, he's not tomorrow, 30 years from now, he's going to go to a reunion of his unit or whatever. And it's like, there was no separation of time. The brotherhood is there. And
exists.
Even for the Navy guys, even for the Navy guys, that's going to happen.
For the Coast Guard guys, we'll take them too, right?
My brother was in the Navy, so.
Man, it's a real pleasure, speaking with you, Michael, and trying to communicate this information out to our brothers and sisters out there. I think, there's a lot of them that are going to wake up this morning that need to hear this, that need to hear, task number one, build relationships. And most important thing to remember is you've been through worse. I think, that goes a really long way. I remember being in uniform.
David, let me tell you, if you're a veteran and you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out to another veteran.
Absolutely.
Right? I tell my kids this, hey, when we pray to God, we don't pray for an Xbox, right? Same thing. If you reach out to a veteran, don't say, hey, I need $1,000. Say, I'm struggling. I got some issues, right? That veteran will step up and the brotherhood lives, whether they know you or not.
Yep. Agreed. 1,000,000%.
To the right place. If you need the $1,000 and we distill that down, I'll get you to the place where people will get you that. Veterans all serve a veteran and love on them and support them and help them.
Yep. And expect it to be the love and support that you receive. Expect it to be very similar to the way you got it in the military. We're going to teach you to fish, brothers. You know what I mean? Nothing was given to you when you were active duty. Not one thing was given to you. You earned every little thing. We're going to show you how to do that out here in the civilian world.
And sometimes somebody's got to tell you your baby's ugly, and who better than a brother to tell you, you got the hair on that thing,
Oh,
just
man.
and help, right?
You got a pillow or something, man?
Yeah. I mean, civilians just don't understand that. They just don't understand that sometimes the most truest form of love comes in being honest and real. And I think veterans, have certainly had at one point in their service career a time of real reality, and put aside everything, put aside the personalities and the personal, and had to be real with each other. And I think that's again, most civilians, they long for, don't know they long for it, but when they see it and they feel it, man, it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Yep. Well, Michael, man, thank you for being a guest on the show today. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that may be tuned in late or tuned in later or whatever the case is, this will stay on my live feed on multiple Facebook channels, including our Veteran Wealth channel for real estate professionals. And it is live on my YouTube. So it will get posted to the YouTube channel, as well as the sound will be turned into a podcast that launches on Friday at 9 a.m. So go ahead into your podcast app, whether you have an iPhone, Android, or whatever the case is. We're also syndicated to Spotify as well. Get in there, find, Veteran Wealth, look up my name, David Adam Kurz. You'll find both my podcasts on there. And this one, like I said, this particular one with Michael will be on Friday. Michael, if somebody wants to talk to you about helping their business be ready, how do they reach out to you?
Michael SIMMS, Veracity, Veracity, Veracity Financial Services. For my phone number is 772-486-2200. 772-486-2200. We coach wealth and we coach businesses. And if you want to go to the golf tournament, give me a call. If you need anything, give me a call. I'm more than happy.
I want to go to that golf tournament for sure.
Yeah, I've done it for 11 years and I've never seen golf. I've just had so much fun with veterans, and they come in tears. Like, thank you. This is just such an awesome environment.
Yep. All right, man. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your service and continued service to the veteran community. We appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Great. Thanks.